Welcome back to Sarah's Science Scoop. Today we will be talking about magnetic therapy. Magnetic therapy. When was it invented? Some say that magnetic therapy with natural magnets goes back to 2000 BC, which is when the ancient Greeks, Egyptians, and Chinese were used. Magnetic therapy apparently gained its first publicity through Paracelsus, a 14th century physician who reasoned that since magnets have the power to attract iron, perhaps they can also attract diseases. What is the practice? Magnetic therapy is an alternative medical practice that uses static magnets to alleviate pain and other health concerns. So-called therapeutic magnets are typically integrated into bracelets, rings, shoe inserts, and mattresses and clothes are also sold in the market. Studies suggest that static magnetic therapy devices may not work at all, well beyond the placebo effect. How it works. Magnetic fields are generated by rotating electric charges. According to hyperphysics, the electrons all have a property of angular momentum or spin. Most electrons tend to have pairs in which one of them would spin up and the other would spin down. In accordance with the Pauli exclusion principle, which states that two electrons cannot occupy the same energy at the same time. In this case, magnetic fields are in opposite directions so they can cancel each other. However, some atoms contain one or more unpaired electrons. Those who spin can produce a directional magnetic field. The direction of the spin determines on the direction of the magnetic field. When a significant majority of unpaired electrons are aligned in their spins, with their spins in the same direction, they combine to produce a magnetic field that is strong enough to be felt on a microscopic scale. Pros and cons of the magnetic therapy. Cons are that you have to visit the therapy place every single day, and this is in the case of transcranial magnetic stimulation, which is a type of magnetic therapy for depression. Also, insurance, that's not always covered by insurance. It depends on the criteria that the insurance has, which can be a downside because of the cost. The discomfort is another downside, and the treatment is not pleasant, and most patients would say that it's an uncomfortable but tolerable sensation. Even though the device is just emitting magnetic pulses, it may feel like a tapping or knocking sensation on the scalp during the stimulation. Some pros. The depression rate on transcranial magnetic stimulation is 68% compared to the 37.5% on the ingested medication. Long-term results. TMS is different than any other medicine-based treatment because results persist long after the treatment is over, and this contrasts many medications where one must stay on them indefinitely. It's also safe with the side effects. It's a non-invasive targeted treatment that is statistically safer than any antidepressant medication. The cost, it costs $400 to $500 for every TMS treatment, which is about $15,000 total. ECT, which is electroconclusive therapy, which is somewhat like TMS, is around $2,500 per session, which is $25,000 for 10 sessions, also 1 week of hospital stay. In my opinion, I think TMS is something that is very effective for people who struggle with depression, and from research that I've done, although in terms of regular magnetic therapy on an injured body is not as much effective, and it does not have as much evidence backing it up. I think it definitely has a stronger placebo effect on patients. I believe that the therapeutic practice will decrease inflammation due to the blood flow to that spot in the moment, but I do not think over a long period of time it will remain improving an injury. It seems to be a practice that is localized in one spot and gives short-term pain relief and does not help long-term unless the treatment is done every single day. As an athlete, as I go through many injuries and have been to the therapy a lot, I believe that the practice is very time-consuming, and I believe that it's very expensive because of the amount of sessions you would need to undergo. I think TMS, on the other hand, is extremely effective, and the research behind it has showed me that there's a lot more than just ingesting medication. It can really change somebody's life, and these things are going untalked about and unknown when many people could benefit out of it and, again, start a whole new beginning with their mental health and journey. Neurostim patient Gino said that halfway through his predicted series, I noticed a change where I could say the people around me noticed to change my life. My wife noticed that I smiled more and was more engaged in life, and I was sleeping less. Generally feeling better. I didn't notice it for a while. Eventually, ideas, stress, things got better. The sky got brighter. I felt more engaged. I felt a darkness had kind of lifted off of me and have been there for quite some time. Before TMS, I was fairly heavy medication regime. That fairly significant side effects, even though it kind of kept me up. That was the price I had to pay with TNS. I was able to get off the medication, get away from these side effects, and allow me to put my head above and be able to see the world in a completely different ways. 20 years of depression, after taking many pills, I was able to get through it. I would recommend anybody who has suffering to try Neurostim TMS. It is a lifesaver for me and got me off the medication and allowed me to see the world in a much brighter way.